Hey friends, my name is Lisa. If we haven't met, if we have, welcome back to my pottery studio. I'm very glad you're here today. It has been a couple weeks, a couple weekends since I've been able to spend any time down here, and I've got some big ambitions for today. I've got some glazing I want to get done. I've got a project that I want to test and work through some more. I've got some new decals for surface design, stuff that I want to play with, and maybe not new ones, but ones that I'm kind of refining and I want to test. I think I might be emotionally ready to try and throw another yarn bowl for my mom, so I might get on the wheel a little bit later. And that's kind of a lot to try to pack into one day, but I'm looking forward to it. And if that sounds interesting to you, stick around. Before I can do a whole lot, I've kind of got a mess that I need to clean up, because that always seems to happen whenever I haven't been in the studio for a while. It just becomes a bit of a dumping ground for other things. So I'm gonna do some cleanup first, get everything ready for a good day in the studio. Still have a bunch of trimmings to sweep up on the floor from when we were working on those bowls. I try to do this right after, but I do try to keep it as clean as I can in here and just keep the dust down because of the whole silicosis thing and all that. I also have some dry glaze that I need to toss out. Slop. So when I have glazes that tests that I don't want to keep, I'll just pour them in here and set it out in the sun and let it dry out. And then you can see it just turns back into a powder. And then eventually I just dump this out in the trash. I'm gonna leave a lot of my glazes out because some of the designs I'm working on, I might use these. So I'm just gonna put them over here. I did spend some time revising a couple stencils, and the two main ones were this bear. I did this a while ago, and this elk, and I just have not really I've been looking at it for a while, and I couldn't tell what I really didn't like about it, but I think it's just the elk particularly is too much detail. So I made a new stencil that's got less small parts in it, I guess, if you will, and the same thing for this bear. I also think I just don't like that it's all blue. I think the inspiration for it was because of the blue bear in Denver, but I think I've got a new stencil, also a little bit more simplified, and I think I'm gonna play with doing a variety of colors in it, kind of more like this one. So I've got those two stencils. I'm gonna be smart about it this time. Instead of putting them on really good mugs that now I'm probably gonna throw away, I'm just gonna put them on tiled, a little a small plate that I have I don't care about getting rid of if I don't like it. So I have those stencils printed out on this vinyl, so I need to weed that, cut them out, and put the transfer tape on. So something I'm mad at myself about is I got a coloring book, and I was down here playing with some new markers in my coloring book, and I didn't realize it was bleeding through the paper, and now I can't get this off. I have to sand it and put more finish on it. And maybe at the end of the day today, if I have energy, I'll try to do that too. I've put a lot of hopes and dreams into today. There's a lot of stuff I want to try to get done, but we'll start with something relaxing. So I am cutting out these decals. I also have a brand new design that I've made for my mama, which is this little sheep, and her birthday is coming up in the next week or so. I'm probably not gonna have that yarn bowl done for her, but I think I can make a really cute mug with this little sheep design on it. My mom is an amazing fiber artist. She is really remarkable. So for a long time she's a quilter, and she did a lot of traditional quilts, but then she got into art quilts, and she was winning awards at the Houston Art Quilt Festival or whatever. I think it's an international conference that's in Houston every year. And she's literally award winning, and now she's into weaving. So I thought this little lamb would be kind of perfect for her. And so I spent some time on my iPad when I wasn't feeling too energetic and did this little design. So I'll weed it out and show you. I think that the lamb is the most satisfying one to weed. And I realized if this is new to you, this is a vinyl sticker that I cut out on basically a Cricut machine, if you're familiar with those. Tons of YouTubes out there about how to create decals and how to use a Cricut and stuff like that. And so this is just your basic vinyl sticker paper that you can use. A lot of DIYers use them for labeling clear containers and things like that. But it's nothing special as far as that goes. However, what we do in order to take this image and transfer it onto ceramic piece, so we'll start with this mug. I think this is the mug that I'm gonna gift to my mama. And I'm gonna put this sheep on there like that. And I'm gonna do two different techniques with these. This one is gonna be very simple. I'm just going to put the decal on and then wax resist. And so the image of the sheep will just be the raw clay. And then the bear and the elk, I'm gonna do that stained glass technique that I've done in the past. I've got a whole nother video on that you can go back and watch as well, but I'm gonna do it again here. So if you missed it, I'll show you how that works. But this is the more simple method to use a decal for a design. So what I do, in order to take this and transfer it over to the pot, we use this transfer tape, and there's several different types of transfer tape that you can get. You get in the craft store, like at Michael's or Hobby Lobby or Joann, if you still have one of those. It's more like this, and it's stiffer. This works great if you're doing something but it's like a really stiff plasticky. It works, but the problem is if you're gonna put it on something round, it doesn't conform to shape very well. So this is good for flat surfaces, but what I found works the best for putting on mugs or anything that's kind of circular is this tape, which is more like a masking tape. And this is sold by the companies that do large wall mural things. And this feels just like masking tape. Maybe if you felt like it, you could even just try masking tape. I don't know, but you'd have to do several strips of it, I suppose. The only thing about it is that other stuff that I just showed you has a back on it, so you can cut out the shape that you need and peel that off and then stick that on here. But this doesn't have a back, so it may be a little bit trickier at times. But then all you do is you take your decal and you put your transfer tape right on top, and then using a thumb, or if you have a rib or whatever, just make sure you get it really well. And then you basically have that. And I'm gonna cut out the edge just to make it easier for myself. Okay, so then we have this. I need to take that and then transfer it onto here. My mom is right-handed, so I'm gonna make it a right-handed mug. I don't know, I just kind of eyeball it and see what's gonna look good. Sometimes directly centered, that isn't always the cutest, I don't know. I might put it maybe almost put its paws, hoofs? What do sheep have? His feet, her feet, maybe more towards the bottom, so it almost looks like she's standing on the edge of the mug. I like that. To do that, I'm gonna just trim this a little bit more, make that easier. All right, now what happens is we want to peel off the back of the sticker. And see how that little circle didn't get totally stuck, so I'm gonna put it back down and try again. You wanna make sure that the whole decal stays together, and then this is just trash. Okay, and now we can look at our mug. We want to be very careful about when we stick it down, because then it's very difficult to get it back up. So kind of line it up how you want. And I think this will be really fitting for my mom, because I'm going to use my new kind of robin's egg green glaze. I think I'm just going to do the inside and the outside with that glaze. So it'll be all just one color. But then this will be wax resisted, and you'll just see this cute little sheep. I will show you at the end of this video how it comes out. I don't like leaving y'all on those cliffhangers, right? So again, we want to really make sure that we get that decal, that sticker, well adhered to your bisque. I didn't mention this, but I did. These were sanded and waxed already. Trying to press that down really well. And then we're coming in again with our fingernail, kind of making sure that that decal stays down. Then a little trick that is super helpful is to get a hairdryer and just go over it, hit it with a little bit of heat, and that helps that vinyl really adhere and conform. All right, now with this one, I'm just gonna set it aside for a second. When I get out the wax, I'll do all the waxing at the same time. So now these are the little plates I'm gonna use. They are dusty, so I'm gonna give them a little wipe off real fast. I don't know, this might be my last attempt with these designs. If this doesn't work out, I don't know, I might give up on the concept. I mean, not entirely. I love doing the stained glass design stuff that you've seen me do before if you've been watching, but I just mean this bear and this elk. I don't know, the actual images. I want to love them. I want to have kind of Colorado themed or inspired stuff, And there has been a bear that's been wandering around town, crawling in and out of a drainage ditch and surprising neighbors, I guess, which is kind of funny. We don't usually get bears down in town, but we do get a lot of elk though. In fact, there's a herd of like 200 elk that come down from the foothills and hang out in my area every year in the wintertime. So we just saw part of the herd. I don't think the whole herd is down yet, but we saw a good chunk of them in the park. So I was also thinking I want to do a trout because trout's kind of big, you know, fishermen, women, men and women. I haven't drawn that one up yet, but we'll see. Right? Yeah, I think this is going to be good. This is a much simpler design than my last bear. So I'm optimistic. I also usually buy the actual vinyl on Amazon, and I'll link that below as well. I ran out of that stuff, so I'm just using some colored craft vinyl I had, but this guy has some antlers, so that's need a bit. So then if I like these on these plates, then I'll try again on a mug. People have asked in the past if these could be reusable, and not really. Like, you kind of damage them just taking them on and off. And also, like, it'd be impossible to get the whole image transferred back off and back onto something else. I do sometimes have some images where, like, I can take out this outline and save that outline. Some of the time I can do that, and then I can get like 2 uses out of 1 sticker. But no, I'm sorry. Not really reusable. Now, there is a vinyl that I've seen artists use on, I think on greenware, and that is reusable as long as, you know, you don't have any like floating parts. This would probably work on that except for the eye. The eye wouldn't be connected to anything. So, however, you have to kind of use it on greenware where you can use the water to help it stick to the piece to then act as a stencil. And I typically do all my surface design at the bisque stage because I usually just timing wise don't have it together to do any decoration when it's still wet. And then it ends up drying out and then I forget and I feel bad. This way something can sit on my shelf forever and I can still decorate it whenever I want to. Now with these two guys, because I want that stained glass look, I'm gonna get out my black underglaze and I'm going to underglaze in that decal. This is Amico Velvet Velour Black is what I'm testing. I don't know if this is the black that I've used in the past. I think this might be a new black, but. If you can see, I'm just going in and painting that elk outline. So now it looks kind of like this. Can't really see anything. I might give it a second, let it dry. I might do another second coat on these just to make sure it comes out as a nice strong black line. But I'm gonna give it a second to dry. Okay, those are looking pretty good. Gonna let them dry, clean up all of this stuff, and I'll get the wax ready. For our wax, I save these little sauce containers that you get with your takeout food. And I wanna pour a little bit into it, and you don't need a lot, but once you brush the wax on the underglaze, it's gonna get all over your brush, and then you don't wanna dip it back into your... Okay, so I pour a little bit of the wax, you don't usually need a ton, into here, and I'm actually going to be smart and I'm going to wax my little sheep first, because after I start waxing where I have underglaze, then the wax gets contaminated with that underglaze, and I don't want this outline to have any black in it. I just want it to be a good resisted image. So I'm just gonna go over her with this wax. Not too liberal. I try to spread out a little bit, but like I said, it doesn't take a ton. So be kind of curious because this is pretty thin lines in this image. So I think it's gonna be fine, but might be a little bit risky. You just wanna be really careful not to drip wax onto other things. I mean, these are just tests, so it'd be fine, but I try to make a habit to not get crazy with the wax, because then you end up with spots on your pots. So I'm just going over that black underglaze. And so what this does is really kind of cool. It'll obviously make it so that underglaze now, like glazes, won't stick on top of it. But for all the little sections that I'm going to paint individually, it kind of helps keep the glaze in those, call them cams or cames. I forgot what they're actually called in stained glass. Cames? C-A-M-E-S, is that right, people? But then when you paint, it kind of like helps you stay in the lines when you paint your glazes. Okay, this next step, this bear is pretty ready, dried off, ready to pull out. Might dab there just a little bit of the wax right there. But what we want to do is just take that sticker and peel it up. And what will happen is some little dry bits of underglaze and wax combo will kind of pop up. And we just kind of want to make sure that we're looking for that, and that, like right there. And what I do is just take a brush and kind of, uh-oh, that one's maybe more stuck on there. So I would maybe sand that off if this was a piece I really cared about, but that's why you want to make sure it's totally dry, because if they're still kind of wet and those little flakes of underglaze and wax crop up, you're going to have that spot on your piece whether you want it or not. All right, and then we just very satisfyingly I was thinking if I still don't like this bear design after this iteration, I did see some inspiration of like bears walking. I actually have a bear walking decal already, but maybe kind of making it more in this style, but maybe not have like the face view, but more of like a side meandering bear stencil. But he looks cute, doesn't he? I like this one more. It's definitely easier to weed. It's easier to apply than my previous iteration. All right, now I'm gonna make sure, I'm always checking my hands when I work on this. Just check your hands to make sure you don't have spots of underglaze, because it does happen. And then, I don't know, that's the kind of thing that really bugs me when I pull pot out of the kiln. There's like just a random black spot. Oh, now we can also, we'll just take this off as is. Oh no, that wax popped up. That wax came off with it. Uh-oh, sorry, Mama. I think I should have used a different wax. Not to fear, here's what we'll do. This, now because there's some wax in spots and not on other spots, I'm just gonna re-bisque this mug. So it's gonna go back on the shelf with my bisque pieces, or my things that I need to bisque, because that'll burn out the wax that is there, but the whole decal didn't stay. I'm gonna pick out a different mug, and I'm gonna try this again with a different kind of wax, because this one was no good. All right, so let's do this real quick. Thankfully, I printed out plenty of these. I've got another mug that I think my mama will love just as much. It's a little bit bigger sheep and a little bit smaller mug. Is that the size sheep I want? I should have looked. Why didn't I look at this before? Well, he'll be cute. I don't know. I have this one that's smaller too. I think I'm gonna save it. So no big deal, but I'm gonna just put the back on. I'm gonna save this guy for another round, but okay. Oof, now I gotta weed one more. I think this one's gonna fit and look much nicer. So I think for this one, I'm gonna go to my old trusty Amico green. I think I remember like a long time ago watching I don't know what it was. It was maybe like a Ceramic Arts Daily or something like that. One of those like really older videos talking about the different waxes that you can use, like different wax resists and options. There are definitely different applications where different waxes work better. Some people use like latex body paint. I know. It stinks. I got some of it once, tried it. It works, but it smells so bad. We used to use paraffin wax to dip the bottoms of pots and stuff like that, but that came with its own set of challenges and problems. So, but that could smell really good. You could get like mango paraffin wax and your studio smells amazing. I think we're back in business. All right, clean up again. I'm gonna start with my bear. And I'm just gonna use one color at a time and kind of sporadically do different shapes with one color and then move on to the next color. And then when I'm done, I'm gonna put a coat of wax over the whole thing, just being kind of cautious around the edges, because then I'm gonna dip this whole thing into like a white matte glaze, and I don't want the glaze to get on top of the image. So that's the plan. I will give you guys a nice lovely montage. Okay, so I got the wax covered on both the bear and the elk, and so those are ready to dip. And then much better success with the green underglaze for, not underglaze, green wax for this image. And it's gonna be so cute. Oh, I think she's gonna love it. So what I'm thinking, I know the color I want to glaze this in, and I'm gonna use my matte white glaze on these, and I'll probably do matte white in here. So I'm just gonna do all the glazing that I want to do over here that uses both of these two glaze colors. And I think that's a reasonable amount for today, because I do actually want to get on the wheel. I heard a tip from another YouTube botter, and if I can remember their name, I will credit them or try to link the video below. But he gave a great tip that I want to try, particularly for my clay that's super soft right now. And I want to see if it actually helps. So stay tuned for that. We're going to get on the wheel. But I do want to get this done first so that this glaze can be drying. And then before I leave for the day and head upstairs, I can load my little mini kiln and at least fire these 3 things. So let's get that done. This is also, I want to do this. Well, maybe that's it. Maybe that's all I want to do. Yeah, maybe I don't actually have a lot that I need to do here. So it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. So I want my matte white glaze, and then my new myrtle. I'm calling it myrtle. Let me show you. It's this, I named it Myrtle. It's my little robin's egg blue. I'm going to do the outside with this little sheep on there with that, and the inside with the matte white glaze. So I'm gonna do the matte white first, and then these guys, I'm just gonna do in matte white as well. Do I wanna dip? Maybe I'll brush you guys. Brushing sounds like a good idea. Okay, so really just need this to pour. There we go. Very handy studio tool. You get one of these, I don't know, silicone things for opening lids. And my dollar store toilet brush. I usually don't put this matte white on the inside of mugs because matte glazes can tend to metal mark. I need a bucket. Yeah, so matte glazes will leave marks from your like utensils and stuff. So typically I use my clear glaze or some version of that glossy glaze on the inside, because you don't have to worry about your spoon if you're stirring your coffee or tea or whatever, leaving metal marks. However, I just learned that, and I tested it, the pink stuff, the cleaning pink stuff, I'll link it below if you haven't already found this or discovered it. It will remove metal marks. And I was really grateful for that, because I've got a tile backsplash that my KitchenAid mixer left some marking on. Anyway, since this is going to my mom, and I can tell her, you know, like, hey, if you get metal marks, just use some pink stuff. I don't know about the pink stuff, honestly, if you should use it on cookware, dinnerware, or anything like that, but it does take off metal marks. So use at your own risk. But anyway, that's why I usually don't do matte on the inside. The reason I am using this matte white glaze on the inside of this mug is because I discovered that this new Myrtle glaze, which I love, will actually cause my clear glaze on the inside of a mug to craze. We discovered that in the last video, one of the last videos. I really want to use this glaze, so, because I think it's going to look really cool with this little sheep. I will just warn my mom. My boys, what should I do with my boys? I'm gonna brush those on, and I've got this in a brushing. I've got a little bit of this with some gum in it that makes it easier to brush, so we'll do that. So again, with these plates, they're still kind of just tests. Oh, you're gonna look so cute. All right, they're just, you know, maybe if they come out, I'll give them away as a spoon rest or something, but I really just want to see if the modifications I made to this stencil design, because I'd really love to have a good elk and a good bear in my repertoire. So the wax that's on the image does like resist it really well, but it'll still like puddle on top. So I just like to hit it with a little slightly damp sponge. See? See, I originally did the bear in all blue because the Denver Convention Center has this big bear outside of it and he's all blue, and that was kind of the inspiration, but just one of those inspiration things that didn't translate really well. I have moderately devastating news. It's not that bad. That wasn't my white matte glaze. Oh, this is gonna be, I meant to do white and it's gonna be like robin's egg glaze. And I'm debating, do I care enough? I mean, I'm really just seeing if the design looks better. I can kind of wash it off, but it's still gonna, I don't want to risk all the work that I just put in to this. And so, you know what? It's just gonna be what it is. I'm not gonna change it. We're just gonna see how the image comes out and ignore the fact that I put the wrong background color on. Maybe it'll be awesome. You never know. Maybe it could be a happy accident. Sometimes that happens. The good news is the mug from my mom, the only thing I actually really care about today, it's still right. It's still good. I'm gonna put my myrtle blue, my robin's egg blue, my brand newest glaze on the outside here, and I'm gonna use my 3D printed mug dipper. I showed that off in a previous video. If you haven't seen it, I 3D printed this specifically for dipping mugs. And what I discovered last time, oh, there's a little dust in there. I've got these numbers on the inside. They're an inch spaced apart. And I know that I only need like 3 inches of glaze in this, usually to dip one mug. So last weekend, my husband and I went to Washington, D.C. It's the first time I've actually ever been to the Capitol. He kind of grew up in that area, so it wasn't really new to him, but he had a conference, so. Right, before that settles, let me focus. Did you come out? Oh, look at that, you can see it. Can you guys see that? We're gonna fire it. I'm gonna show you guys at the end how it comes out, but yay. So, okay, what do I need to do? I'm gonna set this over here to be safe. We're going to stir this up a little bit and pour it back. And then we're going to pour some out into, okay, this up, there. Now, to make this glaze behave a little bit better with a brush, I'm going to add the CMC gum solution. For about this amount, I usually start with like a tablespoon and then kind of see how it's going. Anyway, oh, back to the trip to DC. It was very interesting. I was there just Saturday through Monday. I think it's kind of like Vegas. I think 2 nights is plenty. You sort of get a little like history fatigue, you know, there's a lot of historical things there obviously, and it's definitely cool. The first night we walked all around the White House, up the mall, saw the Washington Monument, then we walked down to the Capitol building, and past that we saw the outside of the Capitol building and the Library of Congress and the Supreme Court. And it was kind of raining, so that could have been more enjoyable, but it was cool to see everything lit up at night. And then the next day we did like all the Smithsonian museums, and that was really fun. And the art museums, which I loved, I adored. I saw so many cool artists that I studied in school, and I've seen some of them in other locations as well, but the only Da Vinci that's in at least North America, it might have been the Northern Hemisphere, Western Hemisphere, I think they said, is in the Art History Museum. That was kind of cool, but gosh, there was tons of Van Gogh, tons of Monet, lots of Rembrandts, lots of, there was an Albrecht Dürer, couple Albrecht Dürer paintings that were pretty cool to see. They had a Hieronymus Bosch. I remember studying Hieronymus Bosch in high school with Mr. Berger, and I was shocked to see his pieces there. Anyway, it was just really cool. That's the stuff I get excited about. I love seeing all these artists that I just remember studying all the way back in high school. So I'm gonna go for 3 coats on this, and that was that's 2, but I'm gonna say it's really 1, so I want to do 2 more coats. And then the next day, my husband had to go to his conference. That's kind of the real reason why we went, but he went to his conference, and then I did the Lincoln Memorial, and I went to Arlington National Cemetery, and then flew home. So that was kind of a jam-packed day, but the Arlington National Cemetery was incredible. It's so much bigger than what I thought it was. I don't know if you've ever been or if anyone watching lives in that area, but oh man, it's powerful and it's really something to see. The other really cool thing is like everything for the most part is free to go in. I paid for the bus to go around the cemetery, but yeah, we did a lot of walking. But it was a good trip. That's also why I haven't had a video in a couple weekends, because I had that going on. Actually, while that dries, I'm gonna go ahead and take this over to the sink, this to wash, because it's good to go. All right, we'll get this done. One more coat. Are you guys excited to hear about the tip I'm gonna try? I'm excited to try it. Sometimes you hear things though and you're like, wait, what? And then you try it and it's like, oh, I don't know what they were saying. It didn't do anything, but kind of optimistic about this. I'm determined to get a yarn bowl made for my mom. Trying to do it for her birthday. She's gonna have to live with a mug instead, but the yarn bowl's gonna happen. All right, this is it in. All right, I'm gonna wedge up some clay and I will meet you over on the wheel. All right, I've got one ball of clay. It's a little over 4 pounds. Now, here's what we're testing. Heard a wise old potter, I don't know. I heard another potter, I saw him on YouTube, suggested that you don't want to use warm water when you're throwing because it makes your clay body loosen up. Have you guys ever heard this? I'd never heard this. I use warm water all the time. And I had a particularly soft clay body the last video when we were making nested bowls, and I was having a lot of trouble. And then I was trying to make yarn bowl for my mom, even though she doesn't knit, but that's another story. But I failed like 3 times because it's just like, I have a clay body that's a lot softer than what I normally feel like I have, so. Don't know if it's true or not, but I am testing with only cold water. A little bucket here. All right. Oh, there was something else I was excited to show you guys. Oh, before we start, hang on. All right, so this is my latest invention with 3D printing. When I was making the nested bowls, I was constantly like measuring, to make sure like the one was gonna fit inside the other. And I was thinking of tools that would make it easier so you're not doing that. And what I came up with, and I'm excited to test it out, but I won't today, but it's this story stick. I'm calling it the nested bowl story stick. And I 3D printed it so that it'll hold up. But you could easily just make something like this with just like a piece of wood or something that would like hold up longer, because it's obviously gonna get wet and muddy. And I measured some commercial nested bowls that I have, but I measured the diameter of each bowl, and then I measured the height of each bowl, and then I gave each bowl a letter, so A through F. What this side shows is the diameter, so the biggest bowl would be A. So if I use this to measure and throw until I get to A, and then on this side, if you flip it like this, A here is the height for what that bowl should be. So, and then, if you do B, then you use this for a guide for the height of that bowl. And then, based on a commercial bowl set, they would all be relatively the right size to nest inside of each other. Is that cool or what? I'm so excited to give it a try. We'll see how this works on another day. I was very excited about that. And now I'm excited to try and see if using cold water makes a difference. When we were younger, we used to sit on the grass. Every time I forget hold on. If you know, you know, I use this Batmate often. And the reason is because I have old bats and they end up like rattling around. And this little chamois thing, I also have it linked below. It's a game changer. But try as I might, I'll never remember to put it on before I start. Among the flowers, we just let the days pass by. People would tell us to get a grip of ourselves and get a job we didn't care. So far, do I feel like using cold water is making much of a difference? I can't quite tell, to be honest. Maybe it is. I usually just used warm water because I thought it's a little bit more pleasant, but I don't mind cold water. This is fine. When we were younger, we used to sit on the grass. I think my goal is 6 inches high and 6 inches wide, and that's 5. Oh, that's already 7, so I just need higher. I need to get some more height out of this. I got a good amount of clay on the bottom, so let's see if we can. I don't wanna grow old. I wish I could turn back time. I think what we want is for the bowl not to be like, obviously you don't want it flared out because then the ball just, the yarn's just gonna fly out. So you want it to like maybe come up and in. So I'm gonna maybe try some collaring. Right? I think that's kind of what we would want anyway. More like a yarn vase. Feels like more of a yarn vase, perhaps. Oh, Mama, look at me. Well, we got you about 5 3/4 inches high. I think she said 6 inches high, but this is the right diameter. So. Now, when this is leather hard, we're actually going to cut into it, the side, and carve maybe like a little swirly doodad or something, which means that I really want my walls to be pretty even because you're going to be able to look at it and see the quality of potter I am. I'm going to do one last just little kind of check, not trying to move a lot of clay, just trying to make sure that I'm pretty consistent. I think I'm okay. I think they're good. Why don't we just quit while we're ahead? I think. Cut away the excess clay. Sometimes I do that and I also, oh, frick. Golly. Oh, the deathly metal rib. Dang it. Oh, it stings. It stings. Well, thankfully we're almost done. We're almost done. I want you to know, literally bleeding. All right, we're just gonna stop. Don't want to wipe it on my walking apron. We'll just rub a little dirt in it. We got a yarn bowl, small flesh wound, but we're good. All right, so this is gonna set up for a couple days, but I will record when I carve it and fire it and stuff, and you'll get to see the progress. But well, we're all cleaned up, bleeding has stopped. I think I should be able to fit all these 3 pieces in my little kiln, and then I'll try to fire it tonight so that tomorrow I can come down and I will show you how it came out. This needs a little bit more cleanup, I just noticed. I need a sponge. See, what I'm looking for is like down here, you can kind of tell. So I just give it another little, it feels weird, but there's that wax there, so it's not gonna, all right. All right, Mr. Bear with the wrong size, the wrong color. Oh, how am I gonna get, maybe I'm not gonna get them all in there. I thought I'm not gonna be able to get it all in there. Well, maybe I can, let's see. Elk, if you are right there. Okay, well, I'm gonna figure this out, don't worry. But I will meet you back down here in just a little bit and we will see the results. Okay, friends. How I ended up loading this kiln was a little sketchy, so I'm not gonna show you that part, but I did already pull things out and I want to show you, I'm very, very excited with how it came out, even though I used the wrong glaze. So first up, I'm gonna show you the elk. This was supposed to be white, but it actually looks just fine. I think they'd still make a lovely spoon rest, but see the difference from this design to this one? I mean, so I'm just really pleased, and honestly, it makes it a lot easier having it a little bit more simplified, and I just like the colors. I just think the colors are so much more fun. So that was this guy. Okay, and then for the bear, so remember this was the original bear, and he was okay, but I just didn't love him, and then this is the new bear, and I like him a lot more now. I do like the mix of colors. I like the color combo and the elk more, so I'm gonna make some notes on that, but I do think this guy is pretty sweet. So definitely an improvement. I do like the white background. Obviously this was supposed to be white, but it is what it is. So I'm very happy about that. Okay, and then I'm just really tickled silly with how my mom's little lamb mug came out. So I hope you can see, but it's such a sweet little delicate design. And this glaze, the more I use it, the more I fall in love with it. I need to get really good glamour shots of it, but if you can tell where it's thinner, it's almost kind of a paley yellow or a yellow green and into a green. And then as it gets closer to the bottom where it gets thicker, it goes blue. I mean, how cool is that? So very sweet, very delicate. I think she's gonna love it. Okay, friends, well, it means the world to me that you'd stay and hang out with me in this video, so thank you so much for being here. If you have any comments or feedback on the designs, anything you think I can do better, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. And otherwise, I'll look forward to seeing you on the next video. Bye, friends. When we got older,
We try to stay in touch.